Hi and welcome to Squishy Exclusive. It's time for another Squishy makeover. This pink and purple unicorn is just crying out for a makeover. First of all, I'm removing his horn. I'm really sorry, but he's not going to be a unicorn any longer. Always sand your squishies so the paint doesn't peel off later on. Now I'm taking this unicorn cake and removing some of the decorations. You don't have to be too careful removing them because you can clean it up later. I'm just seeing where to position them on the horse. This one I'm trying to remove in one piece, so it will cascade down the horse like this. And now I've just got to stick it all on, which I've done now. So now we've got to seal it up with the puffy paint, getting in all the nooks and crannies, and hopefully when it dries it will look like one piece, not just another squishy that's been stuck to the horse. One white base coat later and we can start the painting. As you can see, we are starting with green and he's going to be a garden nature themed horse. It's hard to say until you begin painting how many coats you're likely to need. This one is quite transparent, so he's going to need quite a few of these light green layers. I decided the colour was a bit too light, a bit like mint ice cream, and that's not what I'm going for, so I've darkened up the colour a bit here. But you never really know until it dries. So this section's nearly done. It's time to move on and see what's next. I initially was going to have all the colours just different shades of green, but I decided to go for brown hooves, brown mane and tail. Hopefully it will work out fine in the end. I'm just following the natural line of the hooves that was already there on the squishy and just building it up until I'm happy with it. And the tail and the mane both are going to be the same colour, as you can see. At this point I'm running a bit low on the brown paint, so I'm getting a bit worried that I'm going to cover it up, but I do in the end. I'm filling in the ears with a very light green. I've already done the nose and the mouth. That footage got lost somewhere. And now my design idea is going to start taking shape. This is going to be a flower garland, so the base of it's going to be a dark green, like leaves. Because it's quite textured, you can just pile on the paint and it sinks into all the grooves. I'm using a small brush, but I could use a dotting tool later just to neaten things up and get into really tiny nooks and crannies. I'm going in with some details now in the same colour green, so I'm doing his eyebrows. The natural markings of the eyes are so deep it would be hard to change them. So I'm adding some eyelids and eyelashes in the same green, just so he's not so wide-eyed as previously. I'll leave the eyes till last though, as usual, because they're just so hard to do. He's still looking a bit plain, so I'm going to start painting on some vines. I don't have a plan for this really, I'm just painting it on, seeing if it looks good, and you can always wipe it off and start again if needs be. Now for the other side. And he's looking really good. Now for the next step. Now he's all dry and looking good, it's time to start adding some flower detail. Starting with the orange here and there all around his flower garland and the vines. It's nothing too detailed, it's just little blobs for the petals and seeing how it looks. Now for the purple. I'm trying to go for some really bright colours so they really stand out against the dark green and contrast really well with the green and the brown. I think the spacing of the vines has come out really well because they're not too close together but not too far apart either. So it looks like the flowers are cascading down. And now we've got some pink. I am trying to evenly space them out so It looks nice and even. And now for the red. I am going to put a yellow dot in the centre of each flower as well. A few more finishing touches for the red. I realised it was missing yellow flowers and, of course, all the other side of the body. So I will do all that off camera now. And here we are. I think he looks brilliant so far. So now I'm just going to move on and do a little yellow dot in each of the flowers. It is a different shade of yellow to the yellow flowers, but you can't actually tell once it's on there and dried. So I changed that to a blue dot in the yellow flowers. Now moving on to the hardest part, the eyes. As I said, I'm sticking with the outline that's already there, so I'm starting with the whites of the eyes, just colouring it in. It's going to need 2 or 3 layers, I think, and that's just finishing it up. I decided to go for a deep dark brown for the eyes, a little close up there. I am starting with a brush, but I think I did go in with a dotting tool afterwards to neaten it up. And because of the way his head is looking, I've had him looking to one side. Once that's dry, I'm going in with the pupil. This wasn't actually as hard as I thought it would be because the eyes are really quite massive. And he's nearly done. He just needs the highlights in his eye. Always make sure the rest of the eye is completely dry, and then when you do the highlights you can just keep trying, wipe it off and do it again if it's not right. And onto the other eye, trying to get it the same. And then he is finally done. Time for the big reveal, and here is the finished squishy. Just to remind you, this was the original squishy. Not very squishable, just too bright, hot pink, purple, and he needed a makeover really badly. And here's the finished squishy. He's just absolutely beautiful. The colours are amazing. I love the flowers. I love his eyes. He's actually more squishable now that we've added all those layers of fabric paint. I'm glad I went with the brown for the hooves, mane and tail because it's a good contrast. And he just looks really happy to be covered in flowers. So that's it. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time for some more squishy makeovers. It's bye from me, Squishy Exclusive. Bye!